I'm pleased to welcome our next guest, Kevion Latham. Kevion is the founder of Green Rose Wealth, a multi-family office serving clients nationwide, including executives, college coaches, and professional athletes. With a career spanning uh, PNC Merrill Lynch and Raymond James, he brings an extensive engagement in corporate banking and wealth management. Kevion is also dedicated to giving back, serving the boards of the Homeless Children's Education Fund and Orange Arrow. He attended Penn State, earning his degree in finance, and earned academic all Big Ten honors as a football player. The title of Kevion's talk is Champions Adjust, Faith, Focus, and the Entrepreneurial Grind. Please help me welcome Kevion.
Good afternoon, everyone. How you guys doing? Good. I appreciate Omar and Matthew and you guys for having me. And yeah, let's just get in. Well, first off, names. I know Colin, Alex. What's your names? Katie. Tristan. What years are you, and are you here?
Oh, we just work in the building.
Oh, okay.
I am a grad student though too, so.
Oh, okay, cool. So you'll get to see your presentation.
Thank you for coming. We're happy to be here.
No doubt. So, yeah, I just got this put on my plate last week, and so I saw Omar at the Combine a month ago, and we connected. And Omar was my academic advisor when I was here at Penn State. And so when you play a sport here, they connect you with academic advisors, and you know, I don't know what it was. God just gave me the ability to kind of just go outside the building and just build relationships. And so I built relationships with my academic advisors and teachers and stuff like that. And that's helped me now with where I'm at, you know, in my career. So I connected with Omar. He had no clue what I was doing. And I guess one of the people, you know, couldn't show up. And so they gave me this opportunity, which is something I've been praying for. So I'm excited to be here. The name of my presentation that I made is Champions Adjust. I was tagged with coming up with a subject for just being an entrepreneur. And I think as an entrepreneur, if you guys do take that journey, which is very hard, you just have to adjust. Like, right, being an entrepreneur is hard. You never know what tomorrow may hold, but you have to figure out, you know, what your baseline is, what your purpose is, and how to adjust, right? If you want to really solve that goal or whatever you set out to be. So my story, right? My journey started off with, and I'm a man of faith, so if you're not, I apologize beforehand, but I feel like God is, He's got me here, right, to like this point right here. I've gone through a lot in my life, and I wouldn't be here without Him. So anyways, my journey started off, that's me at the top left. I'm born and raised in a small town called Robertsonville, North Carolina. 2 stoplights. It's like eastern part, so like ECU. I don't know if you guys are Outer Banks, so I'm like 2 hours from the Outer Banks. But 2 stoplights. I grew up in the trailer parks, so we were 100 feet away from a hog pen. So every day I walked outside, it smelled like hogs. So that's where I grew up, man. It's literally like a dead end, and you know, like I said again, being here is a blessing. My story changed. My father, he was an entrepreneur, a hustler, and he ended up making this movie called The Kings of Comedy. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it, but he made it when he was 27. And when I say he made it, he basically he came up with the idea, he financed it himself, he filmed it, and released it. And he did it when he was 27, and he had me at 17. So I went from being poor to my dad making a movie to like him. You know, he bought that car because he felt like the salesman disrespected him. So he literally like wrote a check and paid for it, and we didn't even have space in our house for it. Right? We only had 2-car garage. So when he bought it, my stepmom like yelled at him because it was the dumbest thing that he could have done. So anyways, that was kind of my life. And, you know, like I said, my dad was my idol. I grew up and he showed me a lot. He sowed seeds, and I lived in his shadow, and so I wanted to be out of his shadow, and so I was pretty good at football, and so I took it serious, and I ended up getting like 31 offers coming out of high school. I ended up coming to Penn State because Joe Pa brainwashed my dad, and yeah, and that was my sophomore year living in Nittany Apartments. I roomed with Aaron, who's right here, number 59. He was my roommate, and this year we went to the Rose Bowl, and that summer before, so I don't know if it's still like this, but when I wanted to be an engineer. They told me I couldn't do it once I got here. And then, and so my plan B was business because of my dad. And so I think it's after your sophomore year, you have to have a certain GPA. Is it still like that in business? And so I didn't know what I wanted to do, right? I don't think a lot of us know what we want to do when we're 18 years old. I knew I wanted to make money so I could buy a car like that. So after enrolling in the business school, finance was the highest, right? And so I was like, all right, that's what I'm gonna try to, go for. So I ended up doing it. I had no clue of what I wanted to do. Being up here, kind of the thing is work at Wall Street, like, that's the thing, right? And so that was what I thought I wanted to do. Again, just being prayerful. I was like, God, I don't know what I want to do. And so I just came up with what I liked, right? So I like calculus, I love math, I love solving problems, I love helping people, and I love sports, right? And I lie to you not. I was living in the apartments in one apartment, and then I moved with Aaron, and then another guy, Navarro Bowman. He was another one of my roommates, and they were nobodies. And then the season started. A couple of our teammates went down. They had to step up, and Aaron became like a superstar overnight. And I saw it through our apartment. Like we had every agent that Drew Rosenhaus, Joel Siegel, everybody was coming through our apartment. And I don't talk a lot. I'm an introvert, if you believe it or not. And I would just be playing 2K and listening, right? Just listening. And a lot of the stuff that they were saying was BS. And what really kind of turned me off was like, Aaron, and I don't think he would be upset if I shared this, but like he had a real, his background, like his parents, they weren't doing well, right? So he would like send money back home when we got Pell Grants or whatever. He would always help his family out. So when he did started to, like these people started coming out of nowhere, I was like, well, where were you guys 6 months ago? Like when his family, you know what I'm saying? So it felt unauthentic. And so again, being prayerful, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna empower myself so I can empower my brothers, right? And so that's what happened. So this guy right here, Jared Odrick, was one of my first clients. He was a first-round pick to the Dolphins. Maurice Evans, he was in front of Aaron, and then Jack Crawford I was Jack's host when he was getting recruited out of high school. So, and he was one of my first clients, which is crazy, right? And he played for 10 years, and so that's how I started my business, man. It started from my teammates, planting seeds and kind of just an idea. And the picture at the left is what I built. So Green Rose Wealth, I started it in 2018, and I've just been grinding ever since. So we work with over 20 NFL clients, over now 18 NFL, not NFL, but over 18 college coaches across the country. And I own it. I own it 100%. I have no partners. I have no debt. It's just me. So, yeah. Any questions or? Like I said, I want this to be more of a conversation than like just me just talking, because I can talk a lot. So, Colin.
I know going from football over to like finance and capital management, you might have faced some adversity doing that. Like, could you explain some of that if you have a second?
Yeah. So, I think it's just if I'm hearing your question correctly, just the transitioning from football to like going to work in corporate banking. I think it's, I think that's another thing that, unfortunately is not touched upon, especially with just athletes in general, not football players, but soccer players. Like it's like coming home from war almost, right? Because when I was here, I was a superstar, right? Like I could walk down the street, people ask me for my autograph. Like you know, I was that dude, right? And then you don't play anymore, and now you're nobody, right? And so your psyche is like totally different. And some people know how to deal with it, and some people don't, right? I mean, that's why you hear a lot of the CTE stories. Like a lot of that underlying has to do with like a lot of us don't have an identity, right? Like our identity is being an athlete. And so I think that was my first week at PNC. Like I was the guy. I was like the former Penn State player. I just played in a bowl game, and then the next day it was like, where's that report at? You know, so like that was it, you know? And so I had to learn how to be like a civilian almost again. And so just to answer your question, it's hard, but it's true. If you're a competitor and you like winning, you figure out how to translate, right? So I wrote goals down. Like I looked up like who was the best at that time, like the corporate banker, right? To be at PNC, you ask like, what department at PNC brings in the most revenue, right? It's corporate banking. All right, I need to work for corporate banking, right? Because that's who brings in the most money. Now, once I'm in corporate banking, who are the top dogs in corporate banking? Oh, okay, Mike Anselmo. He's a former Penn Stater. I'm gonna write shot to Mike Anselmo, right? He loves Penn State football, right? And so those are the things you got to do, like just to figure out like how to wet your feet and just take baby steps, right? A lot of us want to build pyramids, but it took me 15 years to get here, you know, and a lot of L's. So I hope I answered that question. So that was a good question. Which takes us into my first L, big L. Is this TV not working? Oh, okay. It's all right. The entrepreneur's mantra, I think, why is adaptability the most underrated entrepreneurial skill? I asked that to you guys. Why do you think adaptability would be the most underrated skill as an entrepreneur?
I think a lot of people think they can adapt well, but they've never actually tried it.
Yeah, I agree. I was just talking to Aaron. Aaron Maben, you know, he's a first round pick, Dolphins. He now does a lot of community work in Baltimore and the school system. And he was just telling me like, you know, he's been he basically does what I'm doing, but on the nonprofit side, right? He's raising money, funds to help build better facilities for kids in education. And so he was saying like how all these good things were going on, right? He has a lot of momentum. But because of, the presidential change, right, a lot of the grants that he was getting are now gone. So how do you, what do you do? Like, how do you get that income back, right? So you got to come up with new ideas in different ways because, you still got kids to serve. So I agree, man. You just got to be adaptable. You got to be a chameleon. It's like Charles Darwin, like only the strongest survive. Which brings me to one of my biggest L's. So it's a huge lesson. So Chris Godwin was one of my first clients. When right after I got my CFP, which is like a master's in financial planning, I was like one of the youngest CFPs in Pittsburgh, and I thought I was gonna take over the world. Like I was like, who wouldn't want to work with me? Like I'm young, and that totally didn't happen. And I got like super down on myself and was a little depressed. But anyways, in that draft, I ended up signing two guys. One was Curtis Samuel, who plays for the Buckeyes, boo. And I signed this guy, Rod Godwin. And Curtis was like a second round pick. And in my world of being an advisor, working with athletes, like the pinnacle is signing a first round pick, right? Like top 10, like you want to get that guy. And this is 2017, so this is what, 3 years in. So I signed Curtis and Chris Godwin, so it's cool. And so I'm working with Chris for like 4 years, and Chris becomes an all-pro his third year. And now everybody wants to work with Chris. And Chris is great, and he still is, still a good dude. And I get a call on, I remember, February 18th, 2020. And he basically he wanted to go, he went in a different direction, right? Because of basically communicating, right? At the point, I thought it was not a great decision of why he was leaving, but after looking on it, it was just communicating, right? Like he had some taxes and some other things that we were doing in the capital markets that he didn't really understand. It's very simple things to us as advisors, but for him, he didn't understand it, right? And he felt uncomfortable with it. And so that was one of the reasons he wanted to go in a different direction. Also, the people that wanted to work with him works with like the top, players in the world, So, and I'm this guy in Pittsburgh that's building this, little RIA. So, that was 2020, and he since has gone on to sign $150 million of new deals, right? So. Again, I still talk to him. I'm close with him. Not close, but his wife and they have a baby now. But that was hurt. I'm talking about it now. I'm hurt over it. I don't know if you can hear my voice, but like it sucked. And when things like that happen over like situations that you have no control over, it's like you start to question like, well, what am I doing this for? Or why am I doing it? And if you don't have like that or that why of why you're doing what you're doing, like it could like take you out, right? And so I learned a lot of lessons. Like for most people, that would have they probably would have got out of business, especially since all the money he's signed for. But I took it as a learning lesson, and and basically, it helped me, it fueled me, it put a bigger passion in me. Faith in the flux, right? Again, right? Trusting, that was a valley of mine that I went through, but I trusted God, and he saw me through, right? I learned a lot from it, and what I learned from that lesson was to over-communicate, right? To go to every game, right? When he was, playing a third-round pick, he was on special teams like the first 2 years. I'm like, I'm not going to freaking see you watch to run down the field and but he ended up he's going to be probably a Hall of Famer on their team, right? And so another thing it taught me was like treat everybody the way you want to be treated, right? Don't treat your first round picks differently than your third round picks, right? Because you never know what that third round pick could be. And the crazy part about it was the year that Chris came out, Saquon Barkley was coming out. And I really wanted to get Saquon Barkley. I really did. But looking back on it, God, if I was just focused on Chris, like Chris is gonna probably make more money than Saquon. Like if you think about it from like the schematical, like what we're doing in the asset management, we want to bring in assets, right? So again, don't judge people based off of where they are now, right? Just treat them how you treat everybody, And again, that's kind of just what I live my life on, man. I pray every day. I read the Bible every day. And, what that's helped me with is just like finishing through like tough times, that we go through. You guys are going to go through it. Transitioning from, like you guys like think the things you're going through now are stressful. Man, you better enjoy this time. Discipline is greater than motivation. This is just kind of touched on with just what I said, man. Like, the thing we used to hate, not hate, but we used to envy you guys, students, because we would wake up at 5 a.m. and get crushed before 9 a.m. and then go to Pollock, and everybody would be like eating breakfast, and we're like, dude, we just got destroyed, and you guys are just starting your day, like. But what Joe and our coaches what they were teaching us was like getting up early, right? Like that's something that's super important in the just life. You want to get your day up started early, because I would tell you, people that wake up early, you're probably going to be more successful in life, right? Because you attack your day, right? Than the person that hits snooze and just goes back to bed, right? And so that helped me. And then, and it's boring, right? Going to the Haluba every morning and getting, workout, it's boring, right? But what we were doing, literally, we trained for 6 months out of the year to play 12 games. Like we're in that stinky building to play in that stadium for what? I think 4 games? I don't even know how many home games we play, right? So just think about that. And that's what being an entrepreneur is. You know, I ride the Peloton a lot. And my favorite quote that Alex says is like, you got to fall in love with the mundane. Like you got to fall in love with like the thing that's boring, right? So like studying, you know, is boring, but like you got to fall in love with it, right? Because when you get that test or you get, you know, opportunity like this, you want to be prepared, right? And like I said, I had no clue that this was coming, but I've been putting myself in situations where I'm uncomfortable. And I know to be a leader or to be a CEO of a company, you have to be able to talk in front of people and present in front of people, right? I took a class here and I didn't do good at all, right? And so like I know that's a weakness of mine. So I want to continue to put myself in those types of situations to see what I can do better at, et cetera, right? But I practice in front of the mirror, right? I practice on Peloton, right? Like visualizing these type of conversations that I'm having with you. So let me finish because I see y'all glazing over. Walking with a purpose, not panic. So this is a good example recently, right? So KJ Whiston, he played here. He's a current student, right? He played here. He's probably going to be a draft pick this year. So last year was my first year in 13 years. I didn't get a draft pick, like 0. And I was crushed. I was supposed to get Theo, and Theo didn't go with me. And but I literally for 12 consecutive years, I represented somebody in the draft. And the year I thought, you know, because it's a give and take, right? You get to a level as an entrepreneur where you start making money, and you pay off all your loans and your debt, and then it's like you're living a good life, and it's like, do I really want to drive to Penn State and get stood up by an 18-year-old? Like, is that what I want to do on a Tuesday? And it's like, I don't think I want to do that, right? And then you get a year later, and it's a draft, and because you didn't do that, now you don't have any draft picks, right? And so I was crushed, right? So like when that happened, it was a wake-up call. I needed to go harder. I needed to stop being lazy and content with where I was and get back on it. And that's what happened, man, with KJ. KJ was kind of just a blessing. Not kind of, it was a blessing. I knew about him. I didn't know how to get in front of him or his parents. And just praying. I just prayed, and it just, the way like I said, people probably think I talk about God too much, but the things that happened in my career, in my life, I can't explain it, you know? So, you know, he's probably going, if he didn't get hurt, he'd probably be a first-round pick this year. But, you know, he's going to be a really good football player. But, yeah, if you don't panic, man, and you stick, again, just stick to your purpose and your passion. My teacher told me this, Kim Austin, she taught Finance 408, because I remember that. She said, don't chase money, right? Like, the money will come. The money will come. And it's very hard to hear that when you have 3 kids at 26 and you're trying to build a business. Like, when is it gonna come, you know? And it's like 15 years later, like it's starting to come, you know? But like, just doing the right thing, not taking shortcuts, and doing what you guys are doing. I don't know if this is optional or volunteer, but like, you know, this is how you get better. This is how you stand out, you know? So, an encouragement, right? Again, just going into it, it gets better, man. Like, so Coach Johnson, I don't know if you know who Coach Johnson is. He was my coach. He recruited me to come here, and I didn't really like him when I was here. He knows that, but we ended up having a really good relationship after I left, and he taught me a lot of life lessons. And during the pandemic, when we were trapped in the house, I was trying to drum up business, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna call him. Worst thing you can say is no, you know? And I asked for an opportunity, and we've been working together ever since. So, you know, I say, you know, dream. You know, I dream. Literally, this dream, what I'm doing right here, came out of, I told Aaron this morning, like it came out of seeing him in Nittany Apartments. And I just stuck with the dream, and I kept praying on it, and I wanted to be a medical sales device because they make a lot of money. But what's making money if you're not really like, you know what I'm saying, changing lives? Or, you know, I see my clients, let's have a client buy a $500,000 car, right? And he's still not happy, you know? So I shouldn't say not happy, but like he still wants like more things. So like money just doesn't solve problems. Like, right? It's about changing lives and doing stuff with a purpose and really, like I said, waking up in the morning and being eager to wake up, you know? So that's all I got, guys. I appreciate the time. Do we do questions, or is that it, or?
Do we have questions?
Do you have questions? What's up, Colin?
I wanted to clarify something, or as a wealth management or like an advisor, are you like the athlete's agent, or are you just helping them with money?
So think of me as like the CFO.
Mm.
Right, if you think of an athlete, right? The athlete, he's he's a CEO. He brings in the money from his body, right? Contracts, NFL income. And the agent is, I would say CMO, the chief marketing, right? They're out there getting the deals, communicating with the 32 teams on what his value should be. And then we're on the CFO line, right? So I would say CFO, COO, because we do a lot of not only financial planning, investments, all that kind of stuff, but we're also like buying cars, shipping cars, doing mortgages, buying jewelry, not buying jewelry, but helping like to insure jewelry, helping with their estate plan. With this whole NIL stuff, a lot of these athletes in college are fortunate because like the NFL players and college coaches, they are what's called W-2 employees. So basically, like when they get paid, the IRS sees their money before they see it, right? Because that's what a W-2 is, right? You have to withhold money before you get your paycheck. NIL, they get the money, and then the IRS comes after. And so by that, they are able to set up and really do a lot of like planning, right? Setting up a LLC, setting up an S corp, payroll, retirement. So a lot of the deductions and stuff that they can do, like a lot of NFL players can't do that because they don't make, all their money's W-2, right? So basically the team tells them how much money they can put in their 401k, et cetera. Where college players can, it's really cool. So I don't know if I went down a whole rabbit hole. I don't even know if I answered your question. Did I answer your
Actually,
question?
you did.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
You covered a lot.
I have a question. So you talked about athletes that went with different entities and how that, hurt and things like that for you. How do you differentiate yourself from your competition? Like, what do you think sets you apart compared to, your other competition in that area?
No, that's a good question because I think about that every day. Yeah, but for me, when I started my business, one of the guys that I asked for advice, his name's Don Charlton. He created this company called Jazz HR and sold it for like 180 million bucks. And I asked him like, what advice could you give me? And he was like, could you get a job if it failed? I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I get a job. And he said, all right. And then he said, access. He says, what kind of access do you have? I was like, I got access to everything. Like I get, Fidelity, Apple, Google, like access. Like, he's like, no, like access, like the next Facebook, the next CrowdStrike, the next Palantir. I was like, what are you talking about? I don't even know you. Like, he's like, yeah, exactly. Like, you need to have access to be different. So that access, and then also just that's just for all clients, right? So just having access to different type of deals. Like somebody built this building right here, and they're probably making money from it, right? Somebody knew about it 10 years ago, and they're making money from it, right? Somebody had access to that deal. So finding deals like that other advisors can't, and then from the athlete's perspective, just like my story is just, it's me, it's different, right? Like just got a different story. I think just from what I'm trying to do, I think what God has called me to do is to be like a disciple maker and to like charge, like what my coach did with me, right? He made me he challenged me to be a better man. I didn't want to do it at the time, but that's what he was doing when I was here at Penn State. He knew I was different, and that's why he was harder on me than on the other. Because I was like, why do you treat me like this and you don't treat, But he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and so I think for me, that's what I tell parents with their guys, like, yeah, Like, yeah, the advisor, I can buy Google, I can buy whatever, but when your kid gets somebody pregnant or does something crazy, like, who is he gonna call? Is he gonna call that guy that you hired that, you know, doesn't look like him probably, or really don't care about him because they're gonna get the next first round pick next year because they're cool with the agent? Or you want somebody that he's gonna call and trust and, like, we can talk through that situation. So that's how I differentiate myself. No problem. What's up, man?
How do you like find your clients?
God.
Yeah.
I just, yeah, just really, referral. Like before, it was, I don't even know. Like my first couple clients were my teammates. So like when I was at Merrill Lynch, they, you know, you're in this room. I was 22 at the time, and you know, when people start working at Merrill Lynch, it's usually like their second job. Like they worked at a law firm for 10 years, or they worked at PNC for 10 years. So they have like a network that they left that they can tap into. And so like one of our first meetings at Merrill Lynch, we're in a room like this, and they're like, yeah, tap into your natural network. So all of it, and, you know, my first thought was like Call of Duty. And then like Jared, like, all right, he just got drafted. This dude just got drafted. Okay, like we spent hours on Call of Duty, you know, like, they should give me a shot. Like, they know who I am. And so that was my natural network. Like, those are the only people I knew that had money of substance at the time that, you know, Merrill Lynch would like look at. And so it started there, man. It started there. And then I went to my coach and I told him like what I wanted to do. And he said, don't extort the school, right? He's like, treat this place like it deserves to be treated, right? So don't, you know, take advantage of it. And so my original like philosophy was like, because when I'm not from here, I'm from North Carolina. So like Penn State is like, I didn't realize how Penn Staters were, right? And so when I moved to Pittsburgh, and again, I was at PNC, and the first day I get to PNC, I'm like, dude, I'm not working at PNC. Like, this is not it. And so I started, I went through the directory, and I started looking at who graduated from Penn State. The first person I saw was Sam Patterson. He's a CFO who I'm friends with. And I saw Mike and Salmo, and I freaking asked him for coffee. And I don't even know how I'm talking about that. Anyways, I was able to connect with them, but it's really just connecting with people, right? Going out of your way, and I did that, and every year, my philosophy was I was going on Penn State. They were really huge Penn State fans, right? And I figured out like, oh my God, like these dudes, like all they want to do is talk about Joe Pa, right? So I'm like, okay. And so I was like, dude, if I could, but they were really wealthy and you wouldn't know that they were wealthy. And I was like, dude, it would be really cool if I could like take this audience, like these like Penn Staters or just entrepreneurs who are making money for 20, 30 years and want to see my teammates like Sean Lee. I'm like, this dude's nasty. Like what? Like, not nasty, but he's crazy. Like who wants like Sean? He's Sean. Like I just don't think of any of my teammates, right? But these people think they're gods. I was like, what if I could like merge those two worlds together, right? Like they would love it because they would want to talk to the guys, and then my teammates would then learn from the Gary Wilsons of the world who owns like $1 billion in real estate. You know, like see how he didn't use any sports and built something of value, you know? And so that was the first thought, and then the philosophy was if I can get one Penn State player a year, whether it be Saquon Barkley or, I don't know, Lamont Wade, right, who didn't make it. It'll keep me relevant, and it'll keep me coming up, having a reason to come up here. So it's worked out so far. So.
Have you been able to get one Penn State player a year?
For the last 12 years, yeah. Well, last year was my first year, not my streak got broken, but
12 years strong now.
we got 4 this year though, so
That counts. That makes
made
sense.
up.
Gotta make up for
Yeah,
it.
and blame Theo for that. So, yeah. Any more questions?
I guess I'll ask one more. Do you focus mostly on football, or do you do
No, so when I first started, that was like my passion, I guess, project was because that was who I could relate to. I can't really, I would go talk to these like, they would have you like cold walk, like cold call, but like knocking on like business owner doors.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what to talk about. Like, I don't, what you build is pretty cool, but I knew like athletes and I knew how to talk to them. So start off with athletes, and then one of my good friend who's also a Penn Stater, he went on the coaching path, and so he started really early because he had to retire from here. So he became a GA super early, a coach, and he had an opportunity to go from Baylor to Texas A&M, and he was like 30. I don't know how old he was. He was super young at the time, and he was getting paid like a player, like one of my players that was like a 7th round pick. I was like, what? And so I started going after coaches. So I have 17 coaches now, and I asked my coach to be my client. So that was kind of where the confidence came. So yeah, it's players, coaches, and then we also work with executives. So we RSUs, it's called restricted stock units. This is where I get nerdy. So these companies, right, like your CVS's or your Signets, you get a base salary, but they don't want their talent leaving, right? Because you have to train people back up. It's a lot of money that goes into that. So the way that they keep them is they give what's called restricted stock units or performance shares. What a lot of people, this one client that I had, he was making a good salary, and his stock went from $9. He's getting these grants over 3 years. His stock went from $9 to $100. And so his life completely changed. But he was like, I don't know what to do, because if I sell them all, then I'm going to have a huge capital gains situation. And so he came to me, and I didn't know what to do either. I just read about it in a book when I was getting my CFP. So again, knowing people, another one of my friends who we were at Merrill Lynch together. He owns his own RA. This is what he specializes in. He has a Duolingo. I don't know if everybody. So Duolingo is based out of Pittsburgh, and he got one engineer, then he got two, now he has like 40, and their RSUs are insane. So that's what he does. He helps them with their stock options. They're restricted. So I said, hey, look, I want this client. I don't know what I'm doing. I'll split it with you. I'll give you 50% of revenue. You do the work, and then, and so that's what we did. So I learned from that situation, and now I have like 4 other clients like that have those types of. So that's kind of my bread and butter. I really like that because it's a lot of different moving components. You have to consult with the attorneys, accountant. Obviously, we're orchestrating everything, but it's pretty cool to kind of work through it. So, what's up, man?
How have NIL deals changed the way you approach football players?
Change the way I approach?
Yeah, because wouldn't college players be getting deals in college rather than?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say like. At first you would think it would be like good, because it's like, dang, like now I don't have to wait, right? I don't have to wait 3 years, 4 years. But what's happening is, this business is just, the stuff that happens in like this sports world in general is just, it doesn't happen in like at CVS or, it's like, if I tell you some stories that happen in sports, you're like, that really happened? Like, yeah, that really happens. And that's why I don't really associate. I work with coaches, I work with executives, because sports can be kind of a cesspool, and unfortunately, that's what it's become with NIL, right? It's just allowed a bunch of different characters, 3 extra years of runway to get their claws into the kids. And so, yes, it's good, but right now it's been a blessing that I've sowed seeds with these coaches, because the coaches will tell me like, hey, this guy needs help, or this guy needs help. And my coaches know how I am and how just birds of a feather flock together, right? So like most of my clients are people like me, right? And so the coaches will tell me, you know, guys that I need to work with, and they're typically guys that aren't going to be a headache. So I hope that answered your question. It's dirty though, bro. These kids making a lot of money, you know, like making millions of dollars without taxes being taken out.
Hear about like what happened to Caleb Williams and then asking for ownership of the Bears. So
That's just, he didn't ask that. You can't believe what the media says, unfortunately.
yeah,
Who would ask that?
it's a good point.
You're not getting freaking ownership of the Bear. You're a player, you know? I don't care what kind of pick you were. Yeah. So that's it. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Yeah.